Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today it's time to do the first NFC division standings prediction for the 2023 season. Now, we're going to do the opposite order of the AFC, meaning today we're going to start with the NFC North. The NFC North is the big question of what ifs. Basically, every single team is a huge what if. So, let's get started by looking at what they did last year. Last year, the Minnesota Vikings won the division going 13-4 with a negative 3-point differential. Yeah, they weren't really that good. The Lions ended up finishing 9-8, and I think everyone basically viewed them as the best team in the whole division when the playoffs came around. Everyone realized at that point the Vikings were complete frauds and had barely escaped multiple games, and that would be proven true when they got absolutely thrashed by the Giants. Then, well, not absolutely thrashed, but they got beat pretty bad. Then we have the Packers, who finished third at 8-9. Rodgers, it's the big question of, is it his fault? Is it LaFleur's fault? Is it anyone's fault? What happened? They ended up having a pretty good end of the year, but then the Lions said nuh-uh to them making the playoffs, and they missed it. Then the Chicago Bears finished 3-14. I think they were at like 3-2 or 3-3, and everyone joked about how they're going to win more than 3 games like predicted. And then they proceeded to lose 10 straight to just completely suck. So, it is a big question of what ifs because it's mainly the big questions of each quarterback. The first quarterback to talk about is going to be Jordan Love and the Packers. Aaron Rodgers last year wasn't that good compared to himself. Yes, compared to some other guys, he was okay, even though his QBR says otherwise. His QBR says he was bad. I think he had a down year, and I think he's going to continue having down years with the Jets, but we'll see. The question is Jordan Love going to be that guy? This team was 17th in nearly all 4 categories, points and yards across offense and defense. And what they do, they lost basically their whole team to the Jets, nearly. Aaron Rodgers, Adrian Amos, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, all of them, if I'm not mistaken, went to the Jets. And then you have Mason Crosby, who's gone, Mercedes Lewis, who's gone, Robert Tunyon's gone, and Dean Lowry's gone. In fact, Mercedes Lewis went to the Bears, which is hilarious. Notable additions. You got a couple safeties, Owens and Moore. You got a long snapper. And you basically did stuff in the draft. Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, I think it's great to get some weapons for Jordan Love. And then Lucas Van Ness is a new linebacker for them. I think it's a solid move. Overall, I don't really have much to say. I think this team's going to be kind of mid next year. I don't think Love's going to be a bust, but I don't think he's going to be as good as any of his draft classmates. I just don't see him being as good as Hurts or Herbert at all. I don't even know if he'll be as good as Tua. Maybe in a technical way he'd be better than Tua because he doesn't get hurt. But from what we've seen, he seemed to be just a decent quarterback. Nothing super special, at least a starter, but not a guy who's going to win you games kind of guy is what it seems like. And I've never been high on LaFleur. He's another coach I've never been high on. I've always been he kind of went to a great situation. Everything just aligned for everybody. And I think that we're starting to see that is true, especially this season when I don't think this team finishes all that great. So the next team to talk about is going to be the Chicago Bears. Let's put it this way. Justin Fields has one season to show if he's that guy, and that's this season. You got him DJ Moore. That is a massive upgrade over N'Keal Harry or Byron Pringle who you lost. Yannick Ngakoue, I think that's an upgrade over Muhammad. Offensive line, you got a couple guys, in the draft and stuff. Darnell Wright, I think that's a solid one to get instead of Riley Reef. Sam Mustard, you didn't really get anyone, to replace him. You did lose David Montgomery, but I think you actually upgraded from him. Dante Foreman, coming from a Panthers fan, that dude's been insane ever since he got to Carolina, and I really was upset when we let him go. You got Tremaine Edmonds, who I talked about in my last video, I think is the, much better Edmonds brother. Very solid pickup. So, your team basically has no excuse at this point. You got him what he needed, receivers. He's got what Chase Claypool thinks is the top 5 receiver in the league in Chase Claypool. You got DJ Moore. You got guys in. You got the tight end, Cole Kmet. You have receivers for him. You got some more protection for him. You got a defense now. Granted, your defense sucked last year, and I'm shocked that nothing changed in the coaching staff, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Justin Fields last year he was great running the ball, but passing-wise, he was a much worse version of Lamar. So we'll see. I always liked Justin Fields, but this is his year to prove it. If he doesn't end up, making this team get to the playoffs, there's a good shot that he's going to be gone next year. So we'll see. Now, as for the Minnesota Vikings, they are a team that last year was really bad. Look, they ended up having a great record, but as the point differential showed, the fact that they, won 7 more games than they lost, or actually it was 9 more games than they lost, yet they had a negative point differential, shows they really weren't that good a team. So what'd they do? Well, they had an awful defense and they had a great offense. They actually completely upgraded their defense in one move by firing their DC and hiring Brian Flores. Massive upgrade. And then a lot of the guys that were supposed to be big name, great players for their defense are gone. Guys like Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, Eric Kendricks, and Pat Peter all gone. And in comes, Troy Reader, Marcus Davenport, and Dean Lowry. I feel like this is going to be a defense that's better, not because the players are better, but because you have a better DC. As for offense, you lose Adam Thielen, but I think you get an upgrade in Jordan Addison. You do lose Irv Smith Jr., you get Josh Oliver, which I'm not a huge fan of that. And you lose Dalvin Cook, and your replacement is hoping that Madison is as good as people think he is. So I think this team's going to be just okay, or they're going to be good. I would say they're going to be a decent team. I think Kirk Cousins is still a top 15 quarterback. So I think he's going to be good enough to have this team win enough games at the Sunday 1 p.m. time slot to where they can make potentially the playoffs. I mean, the NFC South is basically guaranteed that only one team makes the playoffs. The NFC West is guaranteed that two teams don't, basically. So already right there, you're basically limited to like one wildcard team from two divisions. So there's a good shot they can make it. And now, as for everyone's favorite team in sports history, the 2023 Lions. Look, this team was probably the best team in the division last year. They just didn't, get hot till it was too late. Jared Goff was actually really good last year. Nobody's really talking about it, but he barely missed out on having a 100 passer rating, and he had over a 60 QBR as well. 4,400 yards, 65 completion percentage, 29-7 TD interception, despite the fact that he had a lot of changes in receiving core during the year, is insane. In terms of what they did, they lose DJ Chark at receiver, but they upgrade that by getting guys like Marvin Jones and Denzel Mims. You replace TJ Hawkinson, who you lost during the year last year, with Sam Laporta. Really solid move. Then you get a backup quarterback that's an upgraded Hendon Hooker. Other moves, you do lose Jeff Okudah, but he was injured basically the whole time he was here. And you lose Deshaun Elliott. Instead, you now have CJ Gardner-Johnson and Brian Branch. Again, upgrades. You lose Chris Board, but you get Jack Campbell, another upgrade. You lose Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, and you get a downgrade, in my opinion, David Montgomery, but a possible upgrade in Jahmyr Gibbs. So nearly every position you upgraded, and the only one you didn't guarantee upgrade, you kind of just did a lateral move. You didn't lose any of your major coordinators, though. Arguably, you should lose your DC, but you didn't. They had a top 5 offense. I think they'll have it again. I know they have some suspensions and stuff, but they dealt with receiver problems last year. I think they're the best team in the division. They got the best coach and the best QB, so they win the division by far. I do think Dan Campbell's a better coach than LaFleur. I've never been a fan of LaFleur, and I think this season's going to prove it when the Packers end up going like 6-10, really mid, and LaFleur gets fired probably, or they, blame Love. The Bears, I think, do a bit better, just because I think that Fields is going to have a much better year than he did last year. But I don't think he's going to be a world beater to the point where they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Vikings probably do enough to make the playoffs. They do just enough to do it. Kirk Cousins has a good enough year, and the defense is a bit better than it was. And the Lions get number 1. They're going to have the best offense in this division by a country mile, and they might even have the best offense in the league. They might. So we'll see. These are my picks for the division. Let me know what you guys think down below. Be on the lookout. We still have another 3 divisions to do, all in the AFC. So this has been Zom Fox. If you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. It'd mean a lot for you to do that. It helps the channel out. And as always, have a great night.